So I think one misconception is that you only work with space related products or founders. Tell me, is that true?
That is a big misconception that we face a little bit due to our title.
Good morning. Welcome to Small Biz Connect, where we talk all things small biz. I'm Amy Reed, director of the Galveston County and San Jacinto College SBDC. SBDCs are federally and state funded, where we provide no cost business advice as well as no to low cost workshops. Today, we are joined by Andy Thueme with the Space Alliance Technology Outreach Program, part of BAHEP, and we're just going to call it SATOP from here on out.
Yeah, that's great.
So, Andy, tell me, what is SATOP?
So SATOP is a state of Texas funded grant that is administered by the Bay Area Houston Economic Partnership, BAHEP. And our whole mission is to transfer knowledge developed by the space program into the hands of small businesses. Basically, what we do is provide a small business startup that's has some sort of product development challenge with a physical product, a means to overcome that challenge because they don't have the resources available to them. And I think that we'll get into that a little bit more in a few minutes.
So how did SATOP start? And tell me a little bit about how it started and what it is now.
Okay. So the program started in the late 90s as an idea by a past BAHEP president. We're well connected within the aerospace community and space community here. We're only a few blocks from Johnson Space Center. And they said, hey, we got to find a way to transfer knowledge into small businesses. So a bunch of the BAHEP members, they're big aviation aerospace companies, came together and said, we're going to form this program. BAHEP's going to run it. We're going to provide our support to it. The state caught wind of it, and so did NASA. So in 1999, the state of Texas and NASA both started to contribute funding. And that lasted for about a decade and a half. And we generally provided support through a short program that provides 40 hours of free engineering support. Well, in the early 2010s, the NASA funding went away, and so we were surviving on a minimal state program. So for about until 2022 or so, we didn't have a lot of funding and weren't able to let many people know of what we do and how we support them. And that started changing incrementally. In 2022, we got an increase of funding, we're able to hire one more person, and we started what's called our Capstone program, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But in 2024, the 88th legislature of the state said, we're really going to increase your budget. We want you to get statewide. This program's too valuable to lose. So that's allowed us in the last few years to hire some permanent staffers. My position didn't exist 2 years ago. We've hired 3 more individuals since then. And so we're a small team trying to reach the state and let people know that, hey, we're here to help you get through your challenge. And we've been pretty successful at it. In the 25 years of existence, we've helped 1,200 Texas companies overcome those challenges. And our requests for support the last few years have gone through the roof because we've been able to get out and reach the rest of the state, not just Southeast Houston.
So I think one misconception is that you only work with space related products or founders. Tell me, is that true?
That is a big misconception that we face a little bit due to our title, but it goes back to our founding. NASA was a big contributor, many of the prime vendors for NASA. So it's a little bit to our heritage, but you don't have to be in the space or aerospace market. We've helped clothing lines, we've helped home safety, industrial safety, biomedical, you name it. We've got a successful case where we've helped them. We help just about every engineering discipline is available to us in some way, shape, or form. But the only thing we don't do is do information technology-based products, because a lot of people nowadays hear technology and they go to the Internet of Things. That's not what we're about. We're about the repeatable engineering ideas. So we can't call it the Engineering Outreach Program because there's some challenges with state law. So we call it the Technology Outreach Program.
That makes sense. So you mentioned, some of the cases, some of the industries you work with. Can you tell me a couple specific success stories where if it wasn't for SATOP, that these people would not been able to commercialize and take their product to market?
Yeah. So a couple of these are from before my history, before my time with the program. We're working with a client that's come back with us who worked with us about 15 years ago. And it's a company called Smart Pipe. They had a manufacturing challenge. We worked with them to overcome that challenge, and they've realized about $40 million in sales since we've helped them. We're working on another project with them. I can't talk about. We don't talk about ongoing projects, but they've come back with some additional questions. We've had a rescue locator company that their design was to be able to identify where sailors are on ships, whether merchant marine, U.S. Navy. We helped that lady fine tune her product, and then she was able to sell it. She, before closing her doors last year, had about $6 million in realized profits over the case. One you're probably familiar with, Amy, is the cleft palate headgear project that came to us from you. We had a successful Capstone, and she's now on her way to getting that product commercialized. It's going to really revolutionize care for infants that are born with cleft lip and palate. That was a really fun one to watch, and really rewarding just to see that one go in there. And that case actually started because the requester's son was born with cleft lip and palate, and she noticed all the pain that the treatment was causing and the complications. She said, "There's got to be a better way." So those are the cases that we really enjoy doing.
Yeah, I think it could be very rewarding,
Yeah.
right? Anytime you help someone realize a dream and then they help their community or the world, I think that's got to be very, very rewarding. So tell me a little bit about, these founders, they come and they have a great idea. They maybe know the technology or they know the inner workings sometimes. And then other times they just don't know how to go to market or that type of thing. What kind of partnerships do you have to not just help with, say, the prototype? And we're going to talk about the Capstone and such in a minute.
Yeah.
But how else do you get them to market?
So we've worked to develop a wide network of different organizations that help small businesses in different ways. We're just one piece of the puzzle. It's a big ecosystem out here. We all have the same goals. So obviously we have the relationship with the SBDC, the Gulf Coast Network. We also are partnered with most of the rest of the networks in the state. We have a great relationship with the Small Business Administration, the regional office out of Houston, just in connections that we've made with different incubators, other economic development organizations throughout the state, so that if we notice some questions or we get questions from that small business, we can refer them to the right people that know how to help develop business plans, cash flow strategies, hiring strategies, how to find a manufacturing partner. We have a great relationship with the Texas Manufacturing Assistance Center, TMAC. They're the MEP for the state, funded under the NIST program. So we often hand clients off from to one of those agencies or entities. And in many cases, they've come to us because of those relationships where they've been working on their idea, on their project. And then that advisor's like, "Hey, I notice you have some technical challenges. I think it's time you go talk to SATOP and see what they can do for you."
I really do think it's a back and forth. And sometimes they start with one and then they end up back with them after they've gone through your program. So tell me a little bit more about the program, the Capstone, the 40 hours of technical assistance. How does that work?
So we have two programs. Like you said, we have a 40-hour technical assistance program and a Capstone program. The 40-hour technical assistance program is what our traditional program was. We have a network of 33 alliance partners, different organizations, from the engineering director at Johnson Space Center, multiple universities, a couple of community colleges, to prime and subprime vendors for NASA, all the way down to smaller engineering consulting firms. And in that case, the 40-hour program is, we receive the problem that the small business brings to us. We've evaluated. We say, it's something closer to market ready. It's one question, and we can send it to an engineer in one of those entities, and they'll work on it for up to 40 hours and no cost to the small business. That's one thing I really want to emphasize throughout today, is this is all funded by the state.
Right.
The small business is not. And so a lot of what we get is design reviews in that program, or solving one or two type of challenges, a lot of materials questions, or they've got a prototype already, but there's something just not working the way they want it to. So a mechanical engineering fix or an electrical engineering fix. Some cases, hey, helping develop engineering milestones. If we had a case a few months ago where a company had been through an incubator program down in Brownsville. They won the license to a NASA patent out of the tech transfer office, but didn't have a roadmap to success. And it was a biomedical company. We had one of our biomedical experts that is in our network come in and take a look and say, okay, here are the different development gates you need to hit in order to be successful. We consider that one away. Our Capstone program is unique. It's about 4 years old now. And what it is almost every engineering discipline requires a senior design project that is done in teams at the university. Most of the time, 2 semesters. Some universities call it Capstone. Some universities call it senior design project. Well, the challenge is that they are hard pressed to come up with good projects. It's supposed to be something that's industry sponsored, a challenge from out in the community that they're working on. A large university, with a lot of students, sometimes they've got the faculty have to create it, or they're out trying to leverage every partnership they know. We're bringing those projects to the university to help alleviate that problem. But at the same time, we are basically providing access and the funding, because capstones can be a little bit pricey. So we're providing that funding and that placement. And so what that capstone project looks like, it's generally a team of 4 to 6 students in the discipline that best fits that project, guided by a faculty member, and they're working on it in class through normally both semesters. That first semester is a problem analysis, and they generate a couple options from design. And that second semester is they've down selected the design, they're building a prototype and doing a limited testing. So in that case, and oftentimes that requester is getting basically minimally viable prototype at the end of the project. It's a little bit longer, but we have more opportunities to do things, especially if it's something we notice that there might be multiple embedded challenges when the project first comes to us.
What kind of commitment does the founder have during that process?
So the big commitment is their time, which they would be committing time to it in any ways. There's always going to be dialogue. There's going to be some meetings with the engineer or the students, whichever program it is. Those are mainly done through Zoom or Teams, because we're getting projects from all over the state. So, if we've got a team at College Station at Texas A&M and a requester down at Brownsville, we're not going to have that requester drive up to College Station every other week. So, so it's a couple hours here and there. Many of these small businesses, this is an idea they've had. They're working on it on their own. So they're taking a late lunch break to meet with the requester. In some cases, hey, they've quit their job and they are solely focused on this new project.
Right.
So they're dedicating their time. But the big thing is you got to keep communicating with us. You have to be involved. Because it's part of that feedback loop to understand, hey, okay, I think this is going to work. This falls within my plan, falls within my roadmap. So we're going the right direction.
So one question that a lot of founders, when we've worked with them over the years before we've referred them to SATOP, is, do I lose anything by working with them? Do I lose my intellectual property? Do they want any kind of royalties? Can you speak on that a little bit?
That is a great question. So all of our alliance partners have signed a memorandum of agreement that says, if we take a SATOP project, we're not going to claim any financial rights to what is developed. We do have to follow U.S. patent law. It basically says they've got to be credited, they've got to be named, but they've signed their financial rights away. And we also reinforce that in the Capstone program too, where the students will sign a separate intellectual property agreement with the requester if they're at requester wants that as well. The other thing is that we don't talk about ongoing projects within SATOP. We don't sign non-disclosure agreements because eventually, a state legislative member is going to want to see what we're working on, and we have to be able to do that. But BAHEP has about 20 employees. There's 5 of us that are on SATOP. the other 15 employees don't know what we're working on a day-to-day basis. We share limited data to the network when we're trying to get somebody to commit to a project. But other than that, it's with that engineer, that student team that's working on it, the requester, and the SATOP staffer that's helping to oversee that project. So we take great care in that as well.
I think that alleviates a lot of the worries and brings a lot of peace of mind. So thank you for explaining that process.
Yeah.
So looking ahead, what's next for SATOP?
Well, we've just come out of a big growth period. 2024 and 2025 were our expansion based off of the new funding levels that the legislator was kind enough to give us. Now the big thing is stabilizing us, making sure that we're still continuing to reach the small business community through our partners, but also looking at some different avenues of how can we support different small businesses, and are we focusing on the right areas of technology? So what we've started to do expanding is we're getting a little bit into data engineering and AI on the computer science, computer engineering sides, finding more alliance partners on that, but also looking at it going, in the out years, we're beginning to plan for the next legislative session is, are we still doing the right things? And having that dialogue is, do we change the 40-hour program? Because 40 hours isn't a lot. Do we change that limit? Do we rescope that one? Do we go completely Capstone? So lots of questions as we move through the next 2 years. But my main big focus for the next 18 months is to sustain that momentum that we have.
I think you have a great momentum. I've just loved watching how much SATOP has grown over the past few years, just since my involvement.
Yeah.
So how can we support, or our listeners, how can we support you either by sending people to you or even by maybe increasing your alliance partners? What can we do?
So we'll start with the first part of the question. The big thing is spread the word about what we do and how we can help small businesses. We've got great partnerships all over the state, whether I've got a formal relationship or an informal relationship. It doesn't really matter. I'm trying to reach as many people, other organizations that help small businesses so that people know about us. Alliance partners, I'm always looking for more. We do a little bit of vetting and say, okay, how long have you been in business? What's your portfolio look like? Is this a good fit? And just because I take you on as an alliance partner doesn't mean I've got a project for you. It means I've got the ability to go to you. It's kind of like that multi-tool that you've got in the back of the garage. You may not need everything right away, but sooner or later there's going to be a case where I need this little widget off the multi-tool. That's how I look at it. We have some alliance partners that have taken like one project in 4 or 5 years because we finally had something where we need that specialty, but they've been a part of the program. It doesn't cost them anything to have a piece of paper signed saying, hey, we'll look at a SATOP project when it comes along. We have other alliance partners that are more material science, mechanical engineering based. They're doing 5 or 6 projects a year because that's been the heavy demand. And we get a lot of good feedback. There's a lot of people that really enjoy being part of this program because for the alliance partners, especially the engineer that's working on it, sometimes it's a chance to go back to stuff they haven't touched since their last degree or certification. It's a little bit outside of the norm for them, and it gives them a chance to refresh and hit pause for a second on some things.
No, that makes complete sense. So finally, my last question is, how do people get injected into the SATOP program? What are their first steps? Tell us a little bit about that.
So the first step is realizing they have a challenge that you need help on. And then the next thing is to find us through our website, www.satop.space. And on there's an inquiry form. And so that form, we basically fill out your basic information, how to contact you, a little bit of your problem. And then once you hit submit on that form, it goes to our emails. And one of us is going to contact you within a business day, 2 at the latest, depending on how busy we are, to begin the dialogue. What's the challenge? What are you looking to do? How can we best support you in finding a solution to that challenge?
That's great. And we will make sure that we put all your contact information when we post the link and everything. Yeah. Thank you for being here today. It was great information.
It was a pleasure.
Right. To our listeners, thanks for tuning in today to Small Biz Connect, where we talk all things small biz. Until next time.